Hey, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, June 16th. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Let the minutes show that all commissioners are present. And can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 19th?
Move to approve.
Second. I have a motion from Commissioner Peters and a second from the Vice Chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it, 7-0. For the public, if anybody would like to make a comment, we need a card. Seeing no public here, we will move on. There is no public here for the public comments. Okay, I am going to open the public hearing on case 105000002, Las Palmas preliminary plat, and Mr. Creccia is going to make the staff presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. This is the 273 acres for Las Palmas here, bounded by Citrus Road on the east, Perryville, and some acreage within Maricopa County here on the west. On the south is Van Buren Street and an RID canal, and on the north is Roosevelt Street. Surrounding this property, we have a Destiny RV Resort here, county acreage down here. This is for the proposed Amber Meadows development within the city of Goodyear, and county property here to the south and to the north. And then we have Buckeye County to the west. The PAD for Las Palmas, the preliminary plat, and the development agreement were approved back in 2005. The applicant is seeking a reapproval of this preliminary plat since it has since expired. This preliminary plat basically mirrors the plat that was approved back in 2005. We have 750 units, 470 units for single family. 2 court home parcels make up the balance. Density is 2.74 units per acre. The lot sizes will range from 6,000 to 20,000 square feet. Open space is 17% of the project, or about 47 acres. And with this project, the densities graduate from the 65 LDN for Luke Air Force Base. Between this point and a half mile out, the density is 1.58 acres. And from the half mile point out, the density is 3.97 acres. And those densities do correspond with the Luke Air Force Base GDC. So Luke Air Force Base has commented that this project is in compliance. We do find this preliminary plat is consistent with our subdivision regulations, is consistent with the Las Palmas PAD. We are recommending approval. 2 modifications presented before you tonight. One will be to the recommendation section of the staff report, basically the request. The applicant has requested a 2-year approval period for the preliminary plat. Our subdivision regulations currently offer a 1-year approval with a 6-month extension. Given the economic conditions that are out there and the applicant's projected timeline for development, 2 years, a 2-year approval period would work best with their scheduling. And that is with the recommendation. The proposed language is a modification to allow an approval period of 24 months from the date of City Council approval. And then corresponding with that, an additional stipulation, number 52, basically just reiterating the above, that the plat will expire in 24 months, and that either they'll have to file a preliminary plat or come back to the commission to ask for an extension. So basically 52 is the result of the changed recommendation, and the approval period of 24 months. With that, Mr. Chairman, concludes my presentation. Staff's available for questions, as is the applicant.
Questions of staff?
Thank you very much. I do have some questions. One of the questions I have is that it specifies in the documentation that if the project is not developed by November 14th of 2010, then a new development agreement will need to be approved before development can proceed. So I just wondered if you could help me understand what it means when it says the project needs to be developed by November 14th, 2010 for the MOU to stay in place when clearly that's full development could not occur that quickly.
Mr. Chairman, Commission members, they would have to have their final plat for this project approved before November 14, 2010, and that could be one final plat encompassing just a pod that would trigger payments for the entire 750 units. So prior to that date, they would need to file and record a final plat that would then vest the terms of the MOU.
Okay, thank you. Understand that. On page 6, there are some statements about landscaping and the responsibility for landscaping. This is 47 and number 47 and 48 on page 6. One of them, 47, says that either the developer or the home builder shall provide and install a front yard landscape package within 60 days of issuance of the certificate of occupancy. I wondered if it's usual to leave it opened, or is it usual in something like this to specify where the responsibility lays, either with the homeowner or with the developer? And again, just my interest is in how these things happen, how we're sure that the landscaping does occur in a way that is a credit to the development in the city.
Mr. Chairman, Commission members, the zoning ordinance has a requirement that landscape packages to be provided with each home. Basically, part of that stipulation formalizes that requirement. And what it does also is it gives the 60 days a time period that the developer or the home builder does have to come in, provide the landscaping, and the intent of the potential of if you left it to a homeowner, then you might not see front yard landscaping for a while, if at all, depending on the situation. So basically that just formalizes what we have in the zoning ordinance again, and also adds a time period so that within 60 days we'll see landscaping.
So we leave it up to the discretion of the developer as to whether that package is provided by the developer or a requirement for the homeowner to do it?
It will be.
Home builder.
Excuse me, the home builder. Okay.
It'll typically be what we've seen. It's usually the home builder. They're the ones coming in, getting their homes approved, their specific plan series for any particular subdivision. And as part of that package of their design of their homes, we also ask them to provide landscape packages, front yard landscape packages that they're going to provide with the sale of the home.
Okay. And then just a clarification on 48, which has to do with the rear yard landscaping, where there are view fences. That's a responsibility for the HOA then to make sure that that happens within that specified time period? Or who then has the responsibility to make sure that the rear yard landscaping occurs?
Well, according to the stipulation, it's a requirement that will be placed in the CC&Rs, and then enforcement of CCRs will be the homeowners association, as the city would not.
I noticed in going out and looking at the property that the area along Perryville Road, on the east side of Perryville Road, there are people living on those lots all along that area. So do you know what, if any, the plans are in terms of creating a buffer or a block fence or whatever to give those people some protection and privacy from the development?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, Commission members, this is, I don't know if it'll, these are the lots along the east side of Perryville, and what the developer provided in between the Las Palmas lots and the county lots was a 50-foot wide, at its smallest point it will be 50 feet wide, open space area. Within that open space area will be landscaping and a multi-use equestrian trail. And
Okay. Will those lots then on the west edge of Las Palmas, will those be view fence lots in the back? Or solid? Do we know?
those lots side, the way the developer has provided with the, as it's shown on the plat, these lots side onto the open space, and typically we only see the view fences with the rears, when a rear yard opens up onto an open area.
Okay. Thanks for your patience. One more question, and this is my last question. This has to do with the community parks and the playgrounds. The only place that I see on the plat map that shows like a basketball court and a baseball field, I can pick those two out, are in retention basins, and yet it speaks to playgrounds and covered playgrounds in each of the neighborhoods. And I just wondered if I could have some indication of, are all the open spaces, all the playgrounds going to be in retention basins, or are there plans for neighborhood playgrounds in other areas where they would be available? There's a requirement in there for covering playgrounds, I noticed, but I'm not sure where those playgrounds are. Except for the basketball and the baseball.
Right, I think these are the two you found
Right.
right away. Then there are other open space areas where they had some amenities here, along here, and they also were going to have some. And in those areas, they were going to have the typical amenity type packages, covered tot lots, ramadas, some play equipment.
So the basketball and the baseball are retention basins. Are the others also, or are they just bits and pieces of open space?
If I remember correctly from when the PAD went through, much of they do provide some of the amenities within retention. I think 60% of Las Palmas. The requirement was 25% had to be high and dry of the open space. And they exceeded that. I think it was 50, 60% was high and dry of some of their open space.
Great. Thank you so very much. That's all my questions. Thanks for being so patient.
Oh, you're welcome.
Other questions? Sean? Questions?
Mr. Chairman, just one point of clarification back on the development agreement question. One way to have the development agreement not expire is actually to prepay the funds that were specified in the agreement. So that's another way. Just prepayment of the funds would cause the development agreement not to expire.
Okay. Applicant presentation. Would the applicant like to come up and answer questions or make a short, brief presentation?
Thank you very much, Chairman Gelzer. For your record, my name is Scott McCoy, Earl, Curley, and Lagarde, and I represent the property owners. Our presentation will be very brief. We agree with all 52 of the staff stipulations, including the new stipulation that was recommended this evening. You heard earlier that this project was approved, a development agreement, PAD, and a plat back in 2005. And you probably wondered to yourself, how did we get to 2010 and your preliminary plat just recently expired? Well, that's actually through the good graces of Harvey and Steve and the planning department to work with us, and frankly, we went through a number of extensions and extension requests, and ended up at some point Harvey said, you need to reprocess and bring this plat through and bring it up to our current codes, and so that's what we did. we think the 2-year time period for approval is appropriate in light of the economic circumstances. I think that Chairman and Commissioner Short, your questions were very, very smart and intelligent questions. Obviously, give it some thought. I can tell you that Steve's responses were exactly on point. My firm and my partner, Steve Earle, negotiated the MOU and all of the 16 separate development agreements that came through back in 2005. I'll say in 2007, early 2008, we tried to resurrect some of that group to try to come back and look at some ways of reallocating some of the resources that were identified in the development agreement that didn't make sense any longer. The city had pioneered an expansion of the wastewater treatment facility without developer participation, and so we tried to reapproach the development agreement. Frankly, that loose affiliation fell apart in 2008, and so it looks like we're going to have to go it alone in terms of our development agreement. So I think Joe and Harvey are right when they say we can prepay. It's a big number, and invest our rights in terms of the development agreement and the facilities that the city will be obligated to provide to us. There's also some other options, including trying to renegotiate or extend this development agreement out for an additional period of time. And frankly, we just don't know what we're going to do at this point. But we want to have that conversation and have it soon. So with that, I will conclude my remarks and be happy to answer any questions.
Questions of the applicant? Questions of the applicant? Okay, anybody from the public like to make a comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve, please.
Commissioner Gelsner, I make a recommendation that we approve case number 10-500-00002, the preliminary plat for Las Palmas with stated stipulations.
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Miller and a second from Commissioner Williams. I'm assuming that we are using the revised stipulation of 52, right? That's the way we're going? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, 7-0. Staff communications.
Mr. Chairman, just a reminder, next in our July meeting, we have the comprehensive sign package for Spring Hill and Fairfield Inn and Suites coming back, revised.
Met with them today.
Okay. All right, and then we also are going to have some work sessions on trying to wrap up some of the amendments to the zoning ordinance we've been working on, the administrative section, special uses, special districts, and maybe some outdoor lighting amendments. So hopefully we'll have that wrapped up.
Anything else? Any other?
We are passing along the landscape maintenance ordinance. It was where we deleted the provisions of the landscape maintenance from the zoning ordinance, and
Right.
the commission
Okay.
acted on that. That'll be going to the council on at the regular meeting on June 28th, and codifying those requirements in the city code, maintenance issues.
Just a note from the chairman, just Monday night, council actually passed the budget with a few holds for further discussion, but it looks like we're not going to have any more staff cuts for a while, and it was contentious and long, but it did get passed.
Mr. Chairman, one other thing, we do have the Pebble Creek rezoning and plat for the portion of the parking lot at Eagles Nest.
Oh, right, that's on July 12th.
That's right. At the
before-
request of Robeson Communities, it was moved to July 12th, so if any of your neighbors ask, that's the meeting that it's planned for. We did have a request from a citizen to move it to November, but we sent a letter back and said that was, we didn't
Yeah,
go
right.
along with that.
Anything else?
I think that's all.
Motion to adjourn.